Page 90, again, we're going by 10 pages each. Page 90, we learn another scale form. We're in the second position. We know C, F, G. Now we're going to learn the D scale. Let's just think about it. The G major scale has F sharp in it. As you can see, the key signature, D scale, has C sharp and F sharp. So if we know the G scale, we can add C sharps, eliminate the C naturals. If we start on D, we know the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. Now this encompasses the whole second position. This is fingering type 3. So let's remember, fingering type 3, which is D in the second position, the root is with our fourth finger on the fifth string. No finger stretches. No finger stretches for the natural notes in this scale. Here is the first top of the page. We're going to play the statement of the scale, repeat that, another statement with some chromatics, repeat that, and play a little exercise on page 90. Here's top of page 90. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the trickiest thing about this exercise is in the last measure of the third line, where you have D, C, B, B flat, A, and then since we're going up, we're going to have the B flat with the first finger. Coming down is the fourth finger, going up is with the first finger into B. So it looks like this. I'll play them as quarter notes, the last measure of the third line. D, C sharp, B, B flat, A, right? B flat, B natural, C sharp, B. Third measure of the fourth line, you have a B sharp. That's really C, right? We know that note is C. Well, it is a B sharp. It's same thing. We call a note that has, we can call it a C or B sharp. Those are enharmonic notes. They're the same sound. We're calling them different notes. Here is B, here's B sharp, and here's the note C. So they're enharmonic spelling of the notes. Basically, we're doing the drill now. We know about these pages on page 60, 70, 80, 90. It's about the same thing. The scale statement again with one note, chromatic approach, and then now we have the eighth note study. Here's the eighth note study. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a repeating of how to practice this. Get the first measure. Usually it's the first and third measure where we have these chromatics. First measure, third measure, first measure on the second line, third measure, G, first measure on the top of page 91. And actually it goes again into the second measure. Last measure on that first line. The rest of the exercise. Arpeggio study. 1, 2, 3. Again, it's D triad, E minor, A7, G major, G, D, A7, D. This is really good to practice this rest stroke. Look at the first measure. Down, 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 up. Down, 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 up. Look at the the second measure on the second line. Down, 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 down. So just let your pick just fall. It's like you're pushing it down. Third measure, down, down, up, down, down, up. Keep working at it. It'll get easier and easier. And then you'll have to work at it again because it's hard to keep it up all the time. But it's always wonderful to come back to it and see how much improvement you can make. The chords at the bottom of page 91. We're learning actually 3 different chord forms. We know our G7 chord. The chord that we're learning now is called G7 sus4. It also could be called G11. It also could be called G7 sus C, which is the 4th degree. What you do is that you play this G7. Sus4 means that we're taking the 4th note of the scale. You don't have to remember all this, but I'll just show you. The 4th note of the scale and playing it instead of the 3rd. The 3rd is B. We're going to play C. So here we go. There's your sus4. Regular 3rd, sus C. Regular 3rd, G11. Regular 3rd, G7 sus4. So think of your regular dominant 7th chord with root 6, and then put your 4th finger down on the 3rd string, and you get a sus4. The next chord is from this D7. You know, the C7, the D7. In order to make it a minor 7, we're going to flatten our 1st finger to include the 4th string. The root is the 2nd string, and the 5th of the chord is in the bass. Look at the number of D minor 7s we know. We know this D minor 7. We know this D minor 7. We know this D minor 7. And we know this D minor 7. This is root 2, 5th is in the bass. And it's important to have the 5th in the bass and include it because our next chord is D minor 7 flat 5. So what do? We flat the 5th. To flat a note, we go back toward the head of the guitar, 1 fret. There's D minor 7 flat 5. D minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5. E minor 7, E minor 7 flat 5. So let me just show you these chords in this exercise. C major 7, right? G7 sus, G7. E minor 7 in the 5th fret. That means we're going to play the one with the root on 2nd. E minor 7 flat 5. A7 sus4, A7. 3rd fret, D minor 7. D minor 7 flat 5. G7 sus C means G7 sus 4. G7, C major 7, D flat 9, D9 6. Here it is in tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sus 4. 5th fret now. Flat 5, A7 sus 4. D minor 7, 5th in the bass, flat 5, G7 sus 4, G7, C, major 7. I call this chord C9-6 because the 9 is above the 6. Many people will call it C6-9. Many people will call this G sus 4. Some people will call it G11. Some people G sus C. It's good to know all the different names that people might call these chords because it's the sound that they want. And you should be able to recognize what they really want by being open to different ways of calling these chords and naming them, so that you have a repertoire of names for these chords and you're always prepared to play them. We're now on page 92 going to start with melodic rhythm study number 1. Melodic rhythm study sounds like an oxymoron. Melodic rhythms, that's a melody that has rhythms of syncopation. That's how we'll define it right now. Bill writes here, be sure to count a rhythm until you can feel the phrase. Eventually you will be able to recognize and feel entire groups of syncopated notes. In the beginning, you should pick down for all notes falling on the beat and up for those counted on and. This is a definite aid in learning to read these offbeat rhythms. Later on, when syncopation is no longer a problem, you will vary your picking for the purpose of phrasing and accents. We learned this when playing eighth notes. Remember, we were going with the note G, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if we have a rhythm that's 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, notice the pick goes up on the ands, 1 and 2 and 3. That's one thing. The other thing about rhythms is something that I've been mentioning a lot. If you have a problem with a measure of counting out the rhythms, split the measure in half, play the first half of the measure, figure that out, and play the second half. Let's look at the first measure in this melodic rhythm study. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Well, you might get overwhelmed by looking at the whole measure, but if we look at the first half of the measure, it's only 1, 2. And then the second half of the measure is 3 and 4 and. And notice that and goes right into 1 of the next beat. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. You will start to get used to seeing this rhythm of an eighth note, quarter note, eighth note. We've seen it a number of times in the duets. It's always 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. Or if it comes on 3, 3 and 4 and. In playing this melodic rhythm study 1, in playing the melody, I'm going to use straight eighth notes, not swing eighth notes. The straight eighth notes, because for rhythm guitar, I'm going to use a Latin beat. Here is the melody to melodic rhythm study 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have that eighth note, quarter note, eighth note throughout this. First line, you have it twice. The third line, you have it twice. Here's the third line. Different notes, but same rhythm. And what do we have in this piece? We have two modulations. We're starting in the key of C, adding a sharp, and going to the key of G, adding another sharp, and going into the key of D that has F sharp and C sharp, and ending in that. So this tune has two modulations. We're in 3 keys. Here's the rhythm guitar part. As on the bottom of the page, we can play either this or this. I will go back and forth with playing either of those two rhythms, but the main thing is straight 8th notes and keeping the time very strong. Chords to melodic rhythm study. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could choose whatever forms you want to play for those chords. You can simplify them, or you can play for C major, you could play C6, or you could play C major 7. The main objective to this is to keep the time. If you're having problems playing the chords right now in that tempo, I really want you to work on the melody. That is the most important part, and you can come back to the chords. On page 93, we have another beautiful chord etude number 4 in the key of D. This is a hard one to keep very legato and to move from one chord to another with not much space in between those chords. As you can see in the first measure, it's all a D chord. Going to A7 to D. Now, the third measure is a very key measure. We're going to play G major triad, the first chord in the third measure, not with 1, 2, 3, but with 2, 3, 4. So look at this. We go to the C sharp. Then we have the chord C sharp on the bottom, G and B. We're going to keep our third and fourth fingers down. So we're going to go. See that? Then we hit the B flat with our first finger. Then back to the D chord, open B, D7, G minor chord. Now flatten your finger across the 4 strings. Now this is very hard. At least just hold the A down while you play the G. I have to play the G with an upstroke so I don't touch the A. Yeah? Back to. Hold those fingers down. Second ending. Big F sharp 7 to B minor 7. C9 chord. Hold that A down. Broken chord. Beautiful, huh? The bottom of the page are some expression markings. A dot, we've seen that before, means short or staccato, and a line above a note means we attack the note, but it's a long note, not a short note. Staccato, legato. So this line here would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's hard to get a difference between playing our regular notes and real legato. So it really means trying to emphasize and hear in your mind the notes being legato, very, very smooth. And then it doesn't take much strength to play staccato. We just have to release the pressure as soon as we play. But legato takes a lot more strength. But the thing with playing legato and staccato is being able to have the control of playing staccato exactly when you want to and legato when you want to. It's a matter of control and expression. Page 94, 95, we have now our reading studies on page 94 and 95 in D major. So I'm going to put this at 90. See if you can keep up. Remember, it's an accumulation of practicing the scales and reading studies and everything that you're doing that will help you do this simulated sight reading. D major number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're reading and when you're reading a part, it really doesn't matter whether you're playing alternate picking or rest strokes. The main thing is getting the notes at the right time. When playing this, make sure that you just keep on going. I don't care if you have to play all downstrokes or you're playing an upstroke on a downbeat. The main thing is getting the note played at the right time. At the bottom of page 95, Bill writes, reading music is a combination of instant note and finger recognition and playing the sound that you see in music, along with the relative time durations of the notes, of course. Try this. Play the tonic chord of these reading studies to get your ear in the proper key. Then try to sing the music to yourself as you play it. If your fingers have been over the fingering type enough times, they will automatically play whatever notes, sound patterns you mentally hear on the page. This will take a great deal of time to master, but keep at it. It's worth it. In other words, these are sounds we're playing. They're just not fingerings. They're just not names of notes. The reason why we have them on the page is to have a piece of music and some sound coming out. So in the second exercise of reading on page 94, so you might want do, ti, la, so. Fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, so, fa. You don't even have to go do, re, mi. You can go la, 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 la. Start doing that. Go back to page 3 of this book and start to do that. Start singing. It will help you even phrase better by having our natural breathing. Here is reading study 2, D major. 1, 2, 3, 4. On page 96, we're going to do a duet in the key of D called duet, meaning that we're doing a duet in the key of D. Here's part 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Playing the D chord in the first measure and second measure is a strength issue. Keeping that first finger down so that you can play the C sharp. We're supposed to be hearing while playing, so it's keeping it down and still. So you're holding this chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's 6 beats, and the beginning of the third beat in the second measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Hold a G down, the B down, the C sharp. Now there should be a marked difference in dynamics between the first line and the second line. The first line, the first 3 measures are exactly the same as the second line. The first line is softer. And louder. Let's look at that third measure in the second line where we play A, then we play G, B, C sharp, and then keeping our fourth and third fingers down, we play a little G triad. So it's back to the D chord. Remember, B sharp is the same as C. So in the last measure of the third line, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. And I'll keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and softer, right? Back to the beginning. At the coda, we have what I feel is a natural dynamic pattern. The higher the notes go, the louder we play, and the lower the notes go, the softer we play. I think that's a natural thing to do. And I might do that without dynamic markings, but from the coda it's softer, softer, louder. Chord is louder, louder, loud, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Broken chord at the end. Now it's your turn to play this part. Part 2, remember, starts with a staccato D. So we're going to play that D. We're going to finger that D because it's hard to play a D staccato open string. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's part 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a rhythm in this second part that you have really not seen before. In the first measure of the second line, let's make believe we don't have a tie there. This is that measure without the tie. We would go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Now, we're not going to play 3. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. So your attacks are on 1, 2, the end of 3, and the end of 4 going into one of that measure. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. Also, the first measure at the coda sign, we have this rhythm of 8th note, quarter note, 8th note, followed by 8th note, quarter note, 8th note. So the first part of the measure goes 3, 4, 1, and 2, and. The second part goes 3 and 4, and. So it goes 3, 4, 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, and 3. Accent marks over there. Also, in the top of the page of 97, you have a half note that comes on the second beat, then an A that comes on the fourth beat, then an A that comes on the second beat, and an A that comes on the fourth beat. It goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2. In the 8th measure, which is the third line, we have G and B together. Then we have little F sharp triad, but we need to hold C sharp and A sharp when we go for the E. So we have to prepare the E. So we're going to go. So it's, and prepare the whole B minor chord there. So it's all in preparation. Same thing with the next line, first measure. G, B, and then we have this. Well, hold the whole F sharp 7 chord, and then hit the F sharp, then B minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's your turn to play this now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chord forms on page 97. We know this dominant ninth chord, D9, which is in the 4th position. We can also hold it by using our 3rd and 4th fingers. We want to do this in order to learn how to play the diminished chord. What we're going to do is take our 4th finger off and flatten our 1st finger and get this chord. That's it. Look at the 2nd diagram. 9th chord. Later on, you'll also learn this as a dominant 9th chord. But right now, this is a pure diminished chord. As you remember, the name of the diminished chord can be from any notes that you're playing. So it's an A diminished, an F sharp diminished, a C diminished, or an E flat diminished. Here we go, 4 chords right there. So practice this. The other chord I'd like to show you is another type of a 6th chord. Before we played G6, we played the G major chord, and then we put our 4th finger on the 2nd string and we blocked the 4th string. Here's another G6 chord. We have G, 2nd finger, E, B, D. I like this G6 chord, and I like this G6 chord. What would make me play one or the other? My decision would be from what I want to play as a top note. On this chord, the one that you learned a few pages ago, the 6th is on top, and that's what we hear. On this chord, the 5th is on top. And I might want to play so I hear the 5th on top. Here is exercise of the chord forms on the first one, page 97. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how smoothly you can hear also a melody line on top. Listen to it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Very good. The next, we learn 2 new forms at the bottom of the page. From the major 7 chord, this is not related harmonically, but physically. To get a minor 6 chord, we take the 1st finger of the 5th string and move it up, so it's actually it almost looks like a diminished chord that we know on the 1st set of strings, but in the middle set of strings. The root on this is the 2nd string, so if I'm doing this, this is E minor 6. And the next chord is, let's do a D9, is based physically from this 9th chord. What we're going to do is to get a dominant 7 sharp 5, is that we're going to move our 2nd finger where our 1st finger is and play our 6th string. This is an A flat, root 6, A flat 7 sharp 5. So, without playing the rhythms, I'll show you the chords in this next exercise. C minor, 5th fret, F minor 6. You got to start to know where these, what these notes are here. Second string, F, F minor 6, C minor, G7. Second line, C minor, D flat 9, right? G7 sharp 5, C minor, G7, C minor. So this goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. We have staccato, 2 staccato notes of our 8th notes. So there's space in between those notes, those chords. At the bottom of the page it says minor 6 form shown above may also be called a minor 7 flat 5 root on the 5th string. Do not worry about that yet. We'll come to the minor 7 flat 5, another form of the minor 7 flat 5 that uses this. But just think of this right now as a minor 6 chord with the root on the 2nd string. Page 98, we have a speed study in fingering type 2. What was fingering type 2? That was key of G in 2nd position, root with the 2nd finger on the 6th string. We're going to put the tempo of this a little faster at 105. We're going to play 8 notes, these 8 notes. We're going to do all the repeats, but we're going to have a measure rest in between each of the repeats. And we're going to end on the G each time. And I'll count it. Here we go. Exercise 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I play these, I try and focus my attention on my right hand and my right arm so that I'm not tense. I'm trying to loosen up. The harder I play, the more effort it will be and the more chance I have in hurting myself. So, and the looser it is, the faster I will eventually be able to get. I'll do the same thing with exercise 2. Repeat each phrase with a measure rest in between so you can focus on the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Page 99, we have two speed studies based on fingering 3, which is the D scale in second position, root with our fourth finger on the 5th string. Yeah, go over the scale. This exercise, number 1, I'm going to play with repeats and one measure rest in between, but I'm going to play it with the dotted 8th, 16th rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Here's the second exercise of the speed study using fingering type 3 in the key of D. We're going to go straight through this without repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. In order to start to play faster, not only you should get the coordination down so that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing and the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. The other thing is to really try to relax that right hand so that when you so that it's light, it's not plodding, and it's not tight. And you might want to pick lighter and softer. But you'll get there. So the first thing to do is play it at the tempo we have, but start to play it lighter. Vary the dynamics so you have more control. and so forth. I'm just playing the scale now. This marks the end of the lesson that started on page 90. Let's just see what we went over. We learned a new fingering type 3, key of D, D major scale. Root is on the 5th string with your 4th finger. We went through the 8th note studies, the arpeggio studies, and then we went to some more chord forms where we learned a sus4 chord. We also learned an 11th chord. We also learned G7 sus C. Oh yeah, they're all the same chords, right? So we learned a sus4 chord. We also learned a minor 7 chord with root on the 2nd string. So this is D minor 7 with 5th in the bass. And then we lowered the 5th, so it's D minor 7 flat 5. And on page 92, we played a melodic rhythm study number 1. Remember, we played straight 8th notes. We played a Latin beat for the chords, and you started to play these rhythms enough, hopefully, that you will start to recognize at least the 8th note, quarter note, 8th note rhythm. Chord Etude number 4, another, again, is a beautiful challenge to play legato, to play it so the melody comes out strong, and to play it with dynamics. We went over staccato and legato. We did reading studies that you just keep on going and get your eyes moving and your hands moving, and you're keeping the tempo, and whether you make a mistake or not, you just keep on going. We did a duet on page 96 in the key of D. We learned a 9th chord, diminished chord, minor 7 diminished, 9th chord diminished, and then we had a 6th chord with the 5th as the melody as opposed to the 6th as the melody. Also, we learned the minor 6 chord. This is F minor 6 because it's on the 2nd string. That's the root, F minor 6. And a dominant 7 sharp 5, root 6. A7, sharp 5. And then we did the speed studies. So take your time with this lesson, and remember, review as much as possible.